to stream. Here we go. Add me to the stream. Okay, here I am. Hey, greetings. Oh my gosh, what a palaver backstage, family. But you know, I'm not one to give up. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for joining me today on the Sister Shanice Show. We were set up on stage, backstage via Zoom, but it just would not let me go live. It was giving me error messages, and so I wasn't able to log on. But you know, where there's a will, there is a way. So please do let everybody know that we are indeed live. Let me just check over on YouTube, make sure that I'm coming through there as well. Give us a greetings. Please let me know if you are seeing me. Let me know how I'm coming through. And please assist me to spread the word and give out the link. So just going to be multitasking behind scenes here as well, because I've had to give my guests the new links as well. And they are going to be joining us very, very shortly. So we are indeed live. Sister Shanice in the house, here to elevate, here to lift up, here to invigorate us as African people. So thank you. Thank you so much. Let's get my framing good as well. So I can see my elder Akyaaba is backstage. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to be bringing him on in a moment. So thank you so much in advance, family, for supporting this channel. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. And also, please do share. We've got a phenomenal, fantastic, bombastic show lined up for you today. Thank you in advance for watching. Thank you in advance for listening. You're the ones who make the show what it is. So always, you know, do my best to be here to uplift, to help to resurrect our greatness that we have inside of us as a people. You know, this is a new generation. This is a new time. And we're the ones who are going to have to just seize the moment and run with it and do what it takes in order to elevate us as a people, because we are giants in the world. We are sleeping giants. And you know, anytime that we wake up as a people, anytime, you know, we find our greatness as a people, it's going to be all over. It's going to be a game changer. We're going to be back, you know, where we ought to be as a people, on top, running this planet, looking after the environment, looking after the animal kingdom, looking after the insect world, the marine world, looking after the trees, the farmland, you know, making sure that it's getting the right nutrients, looking after this planet. That is our job. Anyway, family, I've got our guest backstage, and I don't want him waiting too long, because he's here to share with you some amazing stories from back in the days. So we're going to be going back. We're going to be going back to the 80s or so. And our elder is going to be sharing some phenomenal stories with us. He has got an incredible CV, an incredible bio. He's wow. He has been he's accomplished and achieved so much. Let me bring him on stage and introduce him to you. Right, let's get him looking bigger than that. Ah, the big man himself, our esteemed elder, Akyaaba Addai-Sebo. How are you? Oh, how comes I'm not hearing you? I'm not hearing you at the moment, my elder. See what you can do. So, Afri-Jamo is in the house. She's hearing me loud and clear. Rise up, rise up. Thank you so much. Greetings from Mac Black in the house. Yes, rise up, family. Yeah, bit late coming on, but that wasn't. Zoom wouldn't let me on, man. Zoom wouldn't let me on. But Medea. Yes, rise up, STA. Good to have you in the house. Afri-Jamo, we missed you last strong. Yes, I do know my audience, you know. Mondele, welcome, saying Yenge. Yenge Mpimpa Kiambote. Yes, it's the evening time. Greetings, my brother. Good to have you in the house. Diaspora channel in the house. Rise up, sis. Family, check out the Diaspora channel as well, okay? Beautiful sister in doing good works there. Lion, we have a lion in the house. Awesome. And we have Sister Verna in the house from Phenomenal Women. Great to have you, my sis. Brother Kimani in the house. Seeing some regular familiar names. Absolutely lovely to know that you're in the house. Let's go back over to our special guest, our brother Akyaaba, Addai-Sebo. Let's see if we can hear him now. Greetings. I need to hear you. You've got some stories to tell. We need to hear you. You're on mute right now, so please come off mute. Still not coming through. My audience, are you hearing my guest? Is it just me? Oh, so no, we're still not hearing you. Rise up, Deborah. Good to have you in the house. Yeah, we're not hearing you at the moment, my elder. Whilst you sort out your audio, just keep talking. Put your earphones in, maybe, and I know you're not on mute. And so I don't know why you're not coming through, but I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you. This beautiful elder has, had a wealth of experience. Let me pull up his bio so that I can refer to his credentials. And in the meantime, my elder, please just keep talking to me. And as soon as I hear you, I will join you as well. So no idea why we're not hearing from you. But let me tell you a little bit about my guest who you will be hearing from shortly. You know, we will not be beaten. We will not. Oh, wow. Our wonderful guest today, as you can see from his name at the bottom, he's our esteemed elder, Akyaaba Addai-Sebo. And he has been an inspiration in so many people's lives. And hence why, you know, he is the director of an organization called Tribute Inspirations Limited. And that's the organization that produced the two epic Nelson Mandela concerts at Wembley that actually galvanized the global pressure and support that was needed to get Nelson Mandela freed from prison after 27 years. It was, you know, the power of that tribute, the power of the television, the radio, and the unique synergy of all of those popular artists, celebrities, and advertisers that come together at that tribute that produced 9 of the world's largest broadcast events, with the most events reaching these events reached over 500 million people across 100 countries. And this is our elder who was instrumental in this, because he was an executive producer. He was the one who assisted with the production and released the documentary as well of the film One Humanity back in April 2014. And recounting the global solidarity campaign to break the back of apartheid, the apartheid regime in South Africa. He was there at the forefront, involved in leading our people to a free democratic state, with Nelson Mandela as the first president in 1994. This esteemed elder, my family, is, someone who has been moving mountains during his career and in his public life. He was also a special advisor ex officio to the Secretary General of the Organization of the African Union, His Excellent Amara Esse, during the transitional period from the OAU to the AU. And, he was there at the point where it was conceived and assisted to establish the Imminent Persons Advisory Panel of the AU, which is now the panel of the wise, with former Nigerian President Yakubu Gowon as the first chairman. My elder, let's see if we can hear you now. Otherwise, I suggest that maybe you log out and then log back in again. Please log out and log back in again. And if it asks you to optimize audio or anything, just say yes on the way back in. Okay, so please log out and then log back in again. I'm not sure how you sort it. That's the only thing that I can suggest. And let me continue to read your wonderful, wonderful bio. Family, this special guest who I have, Akyaaba, our brother Akyaaba, he was the special peace envoy of the International Alert, facilitated and brokered peace between warring fractions, first in Liberia, then in Sierra Leone, to bring both wars to an end. Wow. Brokered dialogue between Charles Taylor of the National Patriotic Front of Liberia and the then Nigerian head of state, General Sani Abacha, and to pave the way for the holding of national elections in Liberia in 1997. In Sierra Leone, he successfully negotiated a ceasefire. Wow, wow, wow. Negotiated the ceasefire and the release of 19 hostages, including 10 European business executives held by Revolutionary United Front of Sierra Leone, and handed them over to the International Committee of Red Cross as previously arranged. This paved the way for the Yamoussoukro talks, leading to the Abidjan Peace Accord of November 1996. We've got to hear, the stories firsthand from our elder. He's just trying to log back in again, family. As I said, I've been having challenges this evening. First of all, Zoom locked me out. Hey, couldn't get in via Zoom. Someone said, all right, no one, let me go in a next way. And so I've come in a next way. And, but my guest is having problems with his audio, but let's hope that that is just temperamental. Let me tell you a little bit more about our guest. He was the operations manager of the Notting Hill Carnival, the largest multiracial open air festival in the Western Hemisphere, embracing over 1 million street revelers in Notting Hill, London. And it was during, as we know, we have the carnival over the bank holiday, August each year. And at one time, he was headhunted in 1989 to put the operation on a sound economic footing and ensure fiscal probability, control, and accountability. And to those of you who tune into the Big G Galaxy Afiwi, you would have been hearing quite recently from our elder, Cecil Gutsmore, and his queen, who were instrumental in the carnival during those days and spoke very highly of our brother Akyaaba Addai-Sebo. Let's see if we can hear him now. Greetings, my elder.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
It's a little bit choppy, but we're hearing you. So I'm absolutely delighted.
I don't know what is happening. I don't know. Is it better?
It's better. The gremlins are on my case. They just mess about with my channel all the time. Family, don't believe the figures that you see on my channel. There should be, a one in front of them, because, when I come out and I check the analytics, I can see the hundreds who are actually logged in to my shows. But when you look at the front, it will give you a very different image. And also, You know, they're holding and manipulating my figures of my views as well. But you know, because for me, it's not all about the views; it's about the message. I am not going to be deterred. So you know, we have our challenges, but we push on regardless. Elder Akyaaba, I've been speaking to the family from your bio, and I've got as far or as your work as a policy advisor on the Notting Hill Carnival. We were hearing about your role as a special peace envoy, and we're also hearing about your role being instrumental in organizing that phenomenal concert that forced the release of Nelson Mandela. My elder, please let's hear some opening remarks from yourself regarding, you know, those moments in time.
Thank you very much, my sister, and viewers and listeners. We are in an important period, heading towards 35 years of the founding of Black History Month in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And this is the first interview that is being done, or this is my first presentation. So it's an honor, and thank you very much, Sister Shanice, for having me on. 35 years, been a long time. And I didn't think that we'll get to 35, but we are approaching 35 on 1st October. The month of October is very important to us as Africans, the autumn equinox, because it's the month that is the period of the harvest, the period of plenty, the period of reconciliation, and all that. And Black History Month was specifically founded and located during the autumn equinox in October for this purpose. And it has achieved its purpose because as I speak to you, there will be over 10,000 activities that will be organized all across the United Kingdom to celebrate our story, to celebrate our story and tell our story in various forms. But what is so interesting is that the museums, the libraries, the schools, the army, the navy, the air force, the transport authorities, the supermarkets, everybody is involved. The society is involved. That's the most beautiful aspect of it. I was at the Croydon University Hospital, and as I walked the corridors, I saw displayed pictures of Black African members of staff. They are celebrating them and their work in the hospital. And when you get to London Transport, Victoria Station, it's the same. Images of the staff who are working are posted all over. And so this is something that makes me feel so happy that what we did in 1987 has borne fruits because of you, the community. It's because of the community. And I'm very delighted about it. Black History Month started as a result of an incident that took place at the Greater London Council, where I worked as the Special Projects Coordinator. And I went to work sometime in 1985. And our group secretary, Elizabeth, nurse, looked very downcast and was almost in tears. So I asked her, Elizabeth, what's the matter? And she said, would you believe it? last night I was putting Marcus to bed. And after prayers, as I was leaving the room, Marcus called me and said, "Mom, why can't I be white?" And it shocked the mother. She said, "I have failed." She said, "I deliberately named my son after Marcus Mosiah Garvey." And here is Marcus, 6-year-old, asking me, why can't he be white? So she was saying that she had failed the son. And I said, "No, Elizabeth, no, you have not failed your son. You have not failed the son. It is the institution. It is the local authority. Is it the Inner London Education Authority?
Yeah.
It is the government. It's the institutions of state that have created the conditions for your son to be worried about his identity. So you haven't failed. So something has to be done." So it got me thinking, and my antenna was on. And I decided to do some research, go around and watch children and talk to them, school children particularly. And what I noticed shocked me, because particularly you see someone and the face like a Ghanaian or from Guyana or whatever, you try to speak to them and they shy, you know. And I said, my goodness, something had to be done. So what I did was I came back, and for about 2-3 months, I was thinking about this. And then I worked out a strategy as to get the Greater London Council to support and fund a program of activities to celebrate Africa's contribution to world civilization from the antiquity to the present. To celebrate Africa's contribution to civilization. And luckily too, we were lucky to be in a period where the Greater London Council was led by progressive leaders, led by Ken Livingstone, who Margaret Thatcher hated, the Conservative parties hated. And he was the leader of Greater London Council. That means he was running the London government. And he, together with people like Benny Grant, with Paul Boateng and others, it was a powerful team. And they supported what I put before them through the principal race relations advisor, Mr. Ansel Wong, who was the principal race relations advisor to the Greater London Council. And he was immensely supportive, immensely supportive. I paid tribute to him and his team. And we were lucky also to have the leaders. And I managed to get an all-party support. The Conservative.
Oh, what happened to our brother there?
And also,
there is back. Yeah, you dropped out for a minute. You're back now.
They all supported and voted money. So that enabled us to organize lectures. We brought in historians and experts from all over the world, and including musicians. And we organized the Greater London Council, GLC, historical lectures and concerts. And the lectures, we brought in Dr. Henry Clark, Ben Jekanan. Yes, Dr. Henry Clark came, Dr. Ben Jekanan, Tony Martin, Francis Cress Wilson, and Maulana Karenga, the
Wow.
father of Kwanzaa. He also, in
Yes.
fact, I invited him to come and launch the Black History Month in October 1987. But I'm
Wow.
speaking about 586. So these
Yeah.
activities were organized. And at that time also, we brought in people like Graça Machel, we brought in Winnie Mandela, we brought in
Ooh, Winnie.
Nina Simone, we brought in
Ooh. Wow.
all of this, we brought them in and they spoke to the community across the UK. And so the atmosphere got really charged during
Mm.
1986. And what I love most was that we also took over the Royal Albert Hall for
Yes.
about a week and invited Max Roach,
Mm-hmm.
from Guinea, uh,
Mm.
a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
We took over and we filled the place with children. We bus school children, and fill the place up. In fact, that was the first time that
Yeah.
this since that happened. The Royal Albert Hall, we took over that place.
Wow, wow, we need that again, don't we, family? Oh, wow, wow. And most of the names that you've called there have passed on now, haven't they? And of course, someone's mentioned in the chat Bernie Grant, who was,
Yeah,
yes, very much, yeah, part of that movement at that time as well, who's also sadly passed on. But they've left a legacy behind. Oh my gosh. Just let me
yeah.
know when you want me to put the pictures up because you
1987 also significantly
yeah.
was the year when we have elected to parliament 4 black MPs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Please name them. Remind us who
African,
they were.
Dan Abbott,
Uh-huh,
Benny Grant,
uh-huh,
Paul Barton,
uh-huh.
and uh, Keith Vass.
Oh
Keith
yes.
Vass. So
Uh-huh,
these were
uh-huh.
the 4 MPs. And I
Mm-hmm.
recall that when Benny Grant entered parliament in his flowing African bubu,
Yes.
one marked, one MP marked, why is he in this pajamas?
Cheek. That's how I wasn't it before.
He made us proud because he was in his flowing white bubu. Excellent. He made us so proud. He made us so proud that period. So that period was very, very significant for us. Was significant for us. And what is important is that the period 1987-88 significantly also marked the 150th anniversary of emancipation. 100th anniversary of the birth of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And
Yes.
anniversary of the founding Organization of African Unity. You see, and also the 30th anniversary of Ghana's independence in 1957. So we
Wow.
put together and called the period African Jubilee Year. We were going to
Oh, wow. Yeah.
the year 1987-88 as African Jubilee Year. And a declaration, I drafted a declaration which was approved by the council and circulated across the boroughs across England, and several boroughs endorsed it. And it is out of the declaration that the month of October was designated as Black History Month.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
legal endorsement. It was a legal endorsement.
Yes, yes.
The African Jubilee year,
Mm-hmm.
we done the African Jubilee year in July 1987 at the Westminster Central Hall.
Mm-hmm.
At the Westminster Central Hall. And the guest of honor at that event was to be President Mugabe.
Ooh.
When an emergency summit of the Organization of African Unity was called. So
Oh.
his own wife, Sally
Yeah.
Mugabe, to come.
Oh, she was so loved, wasn't she? Sally Mugabe.
Pictures that you show, Sally Mugabe came and helped us to launch African Jubilee Year,
Yeah.
and with Burning Spear and
Ooh.
Abdullah Ibrahim Dollar Brand, and Burning Spear brought the house down. My
I
goodness,
bet. Oh my
really
God.
like that in my life. That,
Wow.
my goodness, the place was so vibrant, and
Mm.
all the spiritual ancestors were there because we poured libations and called them to
Yes,
come.
yes,
They
yes,
were there. And I
yes.
remember the rector of the Westminster Central Hall called me and said that he's smelling weed and all that. So
Oh dear.
he may have to turn the lights off. So I was shivering. I said, my goodness, what do I do? I said, please follow me. So I took him to the backstage and opened the curtains. And when he saw and felt the energy, he walked back quietly. He didn't say anything again. And that was
Oh,
the event of that period. I've spoken enough. Ask something, then I'll come back on.
oh, wonderful, wonderful opening. Family, just to let you know that if you have any questions for our brother, Akyaaba, Addai-Sebo, please put your questions in the chat. I mean, firstly, I want to know, my elder, were there any is there any video footage of those concerts or, those
Yes,
meetings with those greats?
will be with the London Metropolitan Archives. And uh, I had a lot, and someone incidentally borrowed the tapes
Against the way. Oh
and
no.
never returned them to me.
Oh no.
There's a sister who did that to me.
Oh, such a shame. Oh my gosh.
To get the tapes, but there are some tapes somewhere. Some may be at the archives, Metropolitan Archives. Some may be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, wow. So let's go over to the chat and read some of the comments there. So we've got from the bottom up, Sister Afri Jamo, Brother Kwame Ossi. Welcome, Brother Kwame Ossi. He says, what does the elder think of the inept government of the NPP that is sinking Ghana? So a brother there wants to know your thoughts about a government that he said is sinking Ghana. I mean, the entire African continent is sinking, with the involvement of the French and the British and all of the other outsiders, But you don't want to hear what I think. You want to hear what our brother Akyaaba Addai-Sebo thinks. So a few words on that from you, please, my elder.
Well, I'm a Pan-Africanist and an Nkrumahist.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up and educated by CLR James.
Mm.
And I studied at the feet of Chancellor Williams,
Wow.
of Henry Clark,
Wow.
of Benjekanan, Francis
Wow.
Cress Wilson. I
Wow. What
studied
an
at their
era.
feet.
Wow.
So I am a Pan-Africanist, and we are still trapped in neocolonialism in Africa. I feel so sad because when I cast my eyes around Africa, there is not a single liberated territory. Africa has been recolonized. Africa has been recolonized. South Africa has been a disappointment under the ANC, and their counterpart are in Ghana now. They are doing the same thing. They are looting and they are selling out the natural resources of the country and impoverishing the people. What has happened in Ghana is very sad because it is my generation, the leadership of my generation, that is sinking Ghana. The leadership of my generation, we are very wicked, self-centered, and selfish. If you consider what the Nkrumah generation did for us, the Nkrumah generation created the conditions for us to be where we are today. There was free education, and that enables us to be educated. The Nkrumah generation built secondary schools, universities, and also offered the scholarships to go abroad and study to the best universities in the world: Yale, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, in the Soviet Union, in Romania, name it, everywhere. Ghanaians were sent to study and also have a mental vision of quality life, how other societies have organized themselves. And we went to these universities and we'll go from our living quarters to lectures over clean roads, healthy neighborhoods, and all that. But now, if you go to Accra or Kumasi in Ghana, it's surrounded by shanties, and it hurts me a great deal that in 1922 or 2022, I'm sorry.
Thought you was going back somewhat.
Yeah, 2022, you will find a community in Ghana collecting water from a dam where you find sheep, goats, lizards, pigs using the same water. It's incredible. It shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't be happening.
No. And it is happening in Ghana presently.
It's terrible. It's an embarrassment for the government. The government should be embarrassed.
My generation, we have betrayed Ghana and Africa because we took over power, absolute power, in 1982 by organizing a coup d'etat, overthrowing a democratically elected Nkrumah's government. And we became the darling of the World Bank and the IMF and the Paris Club of Nations. They poured money to the regimes. And also, my own colleagues, my friends, they set up a divestiture implementation committee with the blessing of the World Bank to sell off the manufacturing, industrial, and agricultural assets of the country sell them off, and let some to rot in the bush. And that is the result of our state of perpetual inflation, unemployment, and debt trapped. Because if you destroy the manufacturing and industrial base, you are creating unemployment. And unemployment is cyclical inflation. And with inflation, you have to borrow. And debt trap. And that means you are living on imports. So what Nkrumah and his generation tried to get us out and dependent and produce what we consume, my generation will destroy that. Well over 200 to about 300 factories, industries, agricultural plantations were destroyed.
Wow.
All upon the advice of the World Bank. And my generation did it. But what is so sad is that my generation, we said that we were leftists, Marxists, progressives, Maoists, name it. But we did this. And led by Jerry Rawlings, Chikates, the Ahoys, all of them, Kwesi Boatwes, and most of all these people were educated abroad. And they have seen how people have ordered their societies and taken care of their nations. Then you assume power and you allow the Washington consensus to dictate how you should run the country. And this is where Ghana is at the moment. We are importing toothpick. We are importing tomatoes. We had a tomato factory. We are importing car tires. We had a tire factory. Look, Nkrumah, oh my goodness. He set up a gold refinery plant in Tarkwa and was going to inaugurate it in July 1966, and he was overthrown with the help of the CIA in February 1966. And so everything that Nkrumah touched was abandoned. The gold refinery was abandoned. Okay, so my generation will come to power in 1982. And we say that we are leftists. And we did nothing to the gold refinery. Nkrumah was going to create our own Fort Knox. Not a single gold of Ghana was going to be mined and exported raw out of the country. There was going to be value added to it. And we're going to build our own and control our own financial and material resources. And it was one of these reasons which got Nkrumah overthrown. And later on, Gaddafi also had to suffer the same fate. You see, so gold is very, very significant. And I don't want to go there because in 1983, October, I started a series of articles called Ghana's Gold. The revolution sinks or swims by it. And it generated a lot of anxiety and discussions amongst the mine workers' unions and trade unions, and who had been advocating that if you have a so-called revolutionary government, they should be mindful of the wealth that we have, and they should declare gold as a strategic mineral in the national interest. So I went through history to show how our ancestors mined gold. If you heard of Mansa Musa going to Mecca and with tons and tons of gold, how did we come by this gold? We were mining. So in Ghana, I exposed various areas where we were mining gold traditionally. So we could do that. We have the indigenous technology to mine our own gold. So we've got into so it got the government in trouble somehow because there were a lot of questions being asked. So the government sent their death squad after me. They sent their death squad after me on January 4th, 1984. And incidentally, that was the birthday of CLR James.
Wow.
And I said, "You're not going to get me." They surrounded my house, about 30 armed soldiers surrounded where I was living. And but I managed to escape their detection, and I was declared a wanted man. And all the exit points in the country, the airports, the border points, and all that, the police notice was published asking all the security agencies, intelligence agencies, the police, the army, the border guards to be on the lookout for me. So for about 3 weeks, I was doing hide and seek with these forces. The People's Defense Committees were hiding me from village to village, town to village, town to town. And eventually, they organized a way out for me to get to the border with Cote d'Ivoire. And they got me a boat. I went on the river tunnel and then crossed over to Cote d'Ivoire, which they had arranged with the community there. They welcomed me. And I was there for about 3 weeks. I was in the country, Ghana, playing hide and seek with these forces. Then I entered Cote d'Ivoire, and for about a week, got to Abidjan, and I wanted to go back to the US, and something said, no, go back to London. CLR James is in London. And London is to Ghana than the US. So I went to London, and I was well received by CLR James and the Race Today collective, Dakus Howe and Lila Howe. They welcomed me. So I stayed on the front line at Railton Road.
I know that place very well.
Shakespeare Road, the intersection with Shakespeare Road, where CLR James lived. So I lived with CLR James.
Wow.
We joined.
Just let the audience know who CLR James is or was, please.
Oh, CLR James. It was born in Trinidad and a close friend of George Padmore. CLR James, historian and a leading academic and Marxist, well respected. It was CLR James who taught Nkrumah the art of political organization while Nkrumah at Lincoln University and also at University of Pennsylvania. It was CLR James who introduced Nkrumah to George Padmore. What enabled CLR James to Nkrumah was that Nkrumah told CLR James that I am going to kick the British out of West Africa. That was Nkrumah knew what he wanted to do.
Yes.
So after his education, and he was going back to London, CLR James introduced him to George Padmore. And George Padmore at that time was the leading mind, an organizer, and a member of the Central Committee of the Soviet Union Communist Party, representing Africa and the Caribbean, the diaspora. And he had come to London, and Nkrumah and Padmore, they got together and started the greatest political collaboration ever. And it is this collaboration that saw to Africa's total liberation.
Wow.
And
wow, what a story.
And CLR James.
Yeah.
And
George Padmore. And
Jomo
Nkrumah.
Kenyatta.
Wow, Jomo Kenyatta.
Yeah. All of these people,
wow.
they gathered in London. And in 1943, 44, they decided, and they were thinking about the problems of Africa.
And they were young men at that time. I would imagine they would have been, what, in their early 20s?
30s and 40s.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right.
And they said that we've been holding Pan-African congresses.
Yes, yes.
Since Sylvester Williams' time, 1901, coming to Paris and all over the places. Now we have to hold a fifth Pan-African Congress. Yeah. But this fifth Pan-African Congress will have the objective of moving the Pan-African struggle onto the continent.
And I mean, oh my, Elder Akyaaba. I mean, as you're telling me the story, you are just reinforcing for me and for all of us the important role that we can be playing here in the diaspora, and look at the impact of those great men who you're speaking of. Look at the impact that they had from here on the continent during those times. Wow, wow, wow. Just to let you know that Nana has actually joined us backstage. Nana, we know you're there. We actually started late due to some technical problems. Please bear with us, Nana. Wow, wow, wow. These stories that you're telling us, my
sister, elder. let me end. What is important about this period is this.
Yes.
They saw that being in diaspora and campaigning and organizing these congresses can only have meaning if we had control over land. Because the struggle and why we are in the diaspora and all that is because of land. Colonization is about land grabbing, nothing short of that. So we have to liberate a territory from where we can launch the struggle for the total liberation and unification of Africa. So they decided then that which may be the appropriate territory for us to focus on. Then they decided on Sierra Leone because the peculiar nature of the founding and settlement of Sierra Leone. Then they were preparing the trade unionist firebrand Wallace Johnson from Sierra Leone to go to Sierra Leone and launch the liberation process and secure the land. Then fortuitously, a letter came from Accra sent by the organizers of the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC, which were a group of Ghanaian or African elites who were also organizing against British colonialism and demanding independence. And that letter invited Nkrumah to be the secretary of that organization. A member of that organization, Akyaaba, knew about Nkrumah and his organizational abilities, both in the US, because he was in Lincoln with him, and also in the UK. So Nkrumah showed the letter to Padmore and CLR James. And they said, Kwame, you are going to Gold Coast. So they called a meeting, they discussed it and told Wallace that he was not going to Freetown. The program has changed, it's Gold Coast. So Nkrumah protested. He said, I have to finish my PhD at London School of Economics. And they said, the PhD can wait. Africa needs you. You have to go. So CLR James and Padmore packed his suitcase and took him to Southampton to board the ship.
Wow.
So in December 1947, he landed in Ghana. And that is where everything about our total liberation started.
Wow.
And Nkrumah started organizing study groups and linking up with the youth.
The importance of the role of the youth.
And he formed an organization, the Central Youth Organization. It was a coordinating organization for all the youth groups in the country. And it was these youth groups who, on June 19, 1949, asked Nkrumah to leave the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC, and form his own party, the Convention People's Party. And it was through the Convention People's Party that Nkrumah mobilized the country and started what he called a positive action of boycotts of British goods and the government. And this was picked up by the merchants and the market women and the traders, and they joined the boycott, which was led by Kobna Bonny Taylor, a chief of Osu Alata in Accra, and he led the boycott. And it hurt the British economy because the British had come just out of the war, and the countries that were supporting the British economy were Ghana and Malaysia at that time. Ghana's cocoa and gold, and Malaysia also were supporting the British economy, and also India. So these boycotts hurt the British government. And then the ex-servicemen also joined, that they had not been paid their gratuities after serving His Majesty's the King in their war efforts in Burma, in all over the place, all over the world. And they were shot at by the British. And that also infuriated the Gold Coast public. So things became so hard that the British were forced to negotiate with Nkrumah. But what is important about this is that Nkrumah never fired, or the group CPP or the Ghanaians never fired a single shot against the British and the might of the British. But it was through using the weapon of nonviolent resistance and getting the country behind him and the Convention People's Party that brought the British to their knees and to negotiate. And Ghana gained its independence in 1957 from the British. And on the dawn of independence at the Polo Grounds, Nkrumah made a statement to the world that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent.
Mm-hmm.
And true to this word, he did exactly that. He set up liberation camps across the country and invited freedom fighters from all over Africa to come and be trained and be replenished with resources to go and wage the war to liberate their territories. And George Padmore was invited and joined Nkrumah, and he set up the African Bureau, and which was the special bureau that handled the whole process of liberation. And can you imagine? Ghana gained independence in 1957. At that time, there were 8 independent African territories, mostly Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, then Ethiopia. Yeah, there were 8 of them. And then Ghana also came on board. And by 1963, there were 30 independent African countries, including Ethiopia, 31 and 32, that gathered at Addis Ababa to form the Organization of African Unity. This has never happened on any continent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it was all because of the decision that they took between 1953 and 1945,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and out of the Manchester Conference.
Yeah.
And most of the time they were meeting at the Westminster Central Hall. And that was the reason why I had the African Jubilee Year launched at the Westminster Central Hall in July 1987.
Wow. Wow.
To
What
link
a...
us up spiritually. Everything. That was the reason why I did that. There are several things that I did at that time that some I cannot mention. We entered the inner sanctum, where I can't mention them,
Yeah, some of the
of where London
power.
Spirit there. And we poured libations there. It has never been done.
Oh, wonderful.
So we invoked Africa.
Yeah.
And that is the essence of the 1945. So Ghana Nkrumah had to be overthrown. Nkrumah's wife, Fathia, I was very close to her. She used to tell me that her husband knew that they would get him. So he made up his mind that he was going to run so fast and put foundations, industrial, manufacturing, agricultural, educational foundations solidly on the ground, that by the time they caught up with him and killed or did whatever they wanted with him, he would have left foundations that would have carried the country on for the next 100 years.
Wow.
And that is what he exactly did.
Yeah.
He set up over 130, 140, 50, going to 300 manufacturing industrial combines all over the country.
Mm.
And then my generation, we come and divest the country of all these manufacturing and industrial assets on the say-so or the World Bank. And that is the situation in Ghana now.
Wow.
We, my generation, has betrayed Ghana and Africa. Because, would you believe it? In Ghana, there is not a single book of Nkrumah that is a required text in our national curriculum.
It's an embarrassment.
You will have someone graduate with first class from the political science department at the University of Ghana, and he would not have gone through a single book of Nkrumah as a text of instruction by his professors. And this is true. This is true. So we have a situation where this current government, led by Akufo-Addo, they have started a program of revisionism, trying to denigrate Nkrumah and all his achievements. They say that the day that Ghana gained its republican status from Britain and became fully sovereign, July 1st, is no longer celebrated as a national holiday. 6 March 1957 has been downgraded. May 25th, African Liberation Day, has been abolished as a national holiday. It's all done by this president, Akufo-Addo. Neocolonialism has taken over Ghana. And this is what our brother asks about. This is the reality of Ghana. And it is not Ghana, it's all over Africa. Because my generation has allowed Africa to be recolonized. So I keep telling the younger ones, please, you cannot place any hope in my generation. We will not lead you anywhere. We will lead you and keep you in the gamble house of neocolonialism. That is my generation. You cannot place an iota, any hope in my generation. We are treacherous. Look at South Africa. Look at Nigeria. Look at Zimbabwe now. Zimbabwe hurts me so much. We struggled. We struggled. I was locked up in Washington, D.C. in cells because of Zimbabwe. And we fought hard together with Bafo Nkrumah and the New African. We fought hard. But look at Zimbabwe now. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. And all over Senegal.
Yeah.
So there is a glimmer of hope. we are fighting back
Mm-hmm.
in Guinea,
Mm-hmm.
in Mali.
Mm-hmm.
But please, please, they cannot do it by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They need our support.
Mm-hmm.
They need our support, because anytime there's a sense of hope and liberation, it happens that we are not able to organize support to keep that force in power. It happened in Grenada with Maurice Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Then it happened in Burkina Faso with Thomas Sankara. And I will remind you also that Thomas Sankara, just before he was killed, Thomas Sankara sent us a message congratulating us for Black History Month. I had invited him to come for the lunch, but things were not going well, so he couldn't come. But he sent us a video recorded message. The same thing as Litulu and also Winnie Mandela. They all sent us recorded messages at that time. So Guinea and Mali should be our concern. And we have to make them succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We have to help them not to be recolonized by the French. The French, the Germans, the Americans, NATO, they are there trying to defeat these young soldiers and young revolutionaries that trying to chart a new path. Mali is our responsibility. Guinea is our responsibility. Likewise, Haiti also is our responsibility. Please, I beg you all, organize solidarity campaigns like we do for Cuba. And we should visit Mali and Guinea and give them moral support. We may not have the material support, but our voices, so organized, will motivate them that they are not alone. But right now, the French are doing everything to get rid of the two regimes. They have managed to do so in Burkina Faso. But we should not let them succeed in Guinea and Mali.
We hear you, Elder Akyaaba. You know, someone in the chat was asking about solutions. There you have it. So, you know, for those of you in the chat who were inquiring about what can we do, what are the solutions, you've just heard from our esteemed elder what you can be doing. You could be organizing solidarity campaigns to support Mali and to support Haiti and, you know, in their struggles. So this is what you can actually be doing to support. I just want to rise up everybody in the chat for keeping it locked and for all your comments that's going through. I want to rise up Dr. Winters in the house. Dr. Winters is going to be our guest for our next session, next Wednesday, the 5th of October. He's a historian, archaeologist, an educationist, a linguist. Absolutely phenomenal. He's going to be with us next Wednesday. Great to have you in the house, Dr. Clyde. And I also saw the Bag family were in the house earlier. I hope you're still locked in as well. Great YouTube channel there for everyone to check out. And, you know, I'm seeing the questions. IC3 was asking, you know, is a white person who is born in Africa an African? I mean, it's like asking, is a Chinese person who was born in India now an Indian? Come on, why are we asking these sorts of questions? Yeah, because a Chinese person is born in England, does that now make them, no longer a Chinese? An African is an African wherever we are, and a European, a Caucasian is a Caucasian wherever they are. Simple. Come on now. We shouldn't be on this basic level. Brother Kwame, thank you so much for asking the question to our esteemed guests, because wow, 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 what a history lesson we had. And therein also lies the solution as well, because, these were young people who were committed to a cause, and, they got themselves an education to a very high level, but after the education, they didn't abandon their people. They didn't forget where they were coming from. They didn't fail to see the problems of on the continent of Africa and in our communities. They were just better armed and better equipped to challenge and to do what needed to be done to help organize to resolve the problems that we were facing. And all too often what happens is many of us get a good education and then we're all about self. We forget that there is a community that we need to serve. We forget to concern ourselves with the national issues and the international issues. And we forget that if our nations are downtrodden, then we are also being downtrodden on. And so it's so, so important that, we get the highest level of education that we can, and that we bring those skills and talents to the organizing campaigns, to the committees, and we organize at the level that our elder was organizing. And we invite these wonderful international guests to our event, because they will inspire, they will uplift, and they will encourage the young people, to take that action that needs to be taken. Family, we did have Nana backstage, but he's left us. I think he's having some technical issues because he was coming in and out. But let's hope that Nana, the chief of Cape Coast, who is also a Pan-Africanist, who's also concerned about, Africans in the 21st century, and also someone who wants to be, instrumental in contributing towards change. He is going to be joining us at some point today, hopefully, if the technology allows. In the meantime, Elder Akyaaba, shall I put your presentation on? Shall I try and share screen so that you can?
Yes, please. Let's go back to historical memories. Yes.
Okay. Yes, and I will. Let's see, which one is it now? My computer. Upload file. No, currently support Google video animation using. I don't know what all those are about. I want to upload files because I've got a file there we currently support. Okay, let's have a look and see what it's asking me to do. Right. Okay, I'll have to save the presentation first and give it a name. With Zoom, if I just need to have the document open and then it will save it for us. But let me just do a quick save as to download, and we will bring some photos for you, family, to have a look. And we're going back now to the days that our elder was talking about when he was instrumental in bringing about African History Month in the UK. So share screen. Yes, okay, share screen. Here we go. All right, I think that's the one. Hang on, let's go to Windows. There it is. Right, let's bring up the presentation. And let me go over to the slides. Right,
okay.
you'll be able to see that. So talk us through, my elder.
This is Paul Boateng, who is now a member of the House of Lords. And he, at that time, was the deputy chair of the Race Committee of the Greater London Council. And also the Greater London Council. And this is him welcoming Mrs. Sally Mugabe to the Greater London Council in 1987 for Boateng.
Right, right. And, you know, he obviously, as a young man, would have been a political activist at the time. And he would have been at the forefront, I would imagine, of some of these campaigns. I kind of remember him from back in the days. He would have been a kind of young CLR James type person, but he seems to be kind of relaxing in the House of Lords at the moment. We're going to have to pull him in to the community because there's still work to be done. Do you think he will come back in and start help to organize and work with young people and share some of the skills that he has with some of the young people? What are your thoughts?
Oh, he's engaged. He and the wife, Janet, they are engaged in community activities quietly, but politically, they are a little bit careful. They are not active politically, but socially, in terms of social organization and helping with the church, the Black church and Black youth and all that, they get themselves involved.
He doesn't want to lose his seat in the House of Lords, I take it.
Yes. Yes, if you let's say, let me tell you something. For example, the issue of Mali and Guinea. When I was at the Greater London Council, we worked very closely with the Parliamentary Human Rights Group. So we will get to Lord Avebury, who was the chairman of the Parliamentary Human Rights Group, and we will ask him to raise questions on the floor of the House of Lords, which the government has to answer. And we did the same thing with some parliamentarians, that they will raise questions on the floor of the House of Commons. So, and it is very effective. There is the West Africa Committee at the House of in the Houses of Parliament. You can work with them and bring the attention of Mali. So it's their representatives. And in your boroughs, tell your councillors and your MPs your concern about the situation in Mali and in Guinea. Meet with the Malians, find the Malians and help them to organize. Find the Guineans and help them to organize. That's what we did. I was chairman of the African Refugee Housing Association group in London. And we used that as a vehicle to organize. Nigerians, the South Africans, the this, we help them to organize themselves. So you have to, and it's important that they know that the public is concerned and it is the vote that matters to these politicians. So if voters and citizens are asking these questions and
I'm still in the backstage. Yeah.
Troubling. Thank you.
Then it sends a strong message. So that's what we do.
So
watching,
if you get to him this way, what's
Lord Herman Uzili and all the Black members of House of Lords and the parliamentarians, they will help. For example, last October, I held a meeting with all the Black caucus, the Black members of Parliament, and discussing what has to be done with our Black children, the issue of guns and knives and all that, and the problems of parenting. That is something that is worrying me greatly.
Well, we will work with you on that, my elder. Thank you so much. We're going to have to, have more conversations with you to find out how we can work with you, how we can assist you, and how we can help the communities like the Guinean community and the Mali community here in the UK to organize so that they can be campaigning in support
Mine
of
is
their
like a
country from
conversation.
here.
So I have
So
questions and I have to answer.
Nana,
Yes, I'm
let
here.
me just,
Nana,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you. We're going to bring you in a very, very short while. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to bring you in a very short while. Excellent. But we have been having the privilege and the honor of hearing from our esteemed elder, Akyaaba. Can we bring you back, my elder, Akyaaba, because you've got some stories to tell. We've got some work to do with you, my elder. Will you rejoin us?
Anytime.
Oh,
There's a lot to
fantastic.
share.
Yes, there is.
Over Africa and what is going on in it's painful.
I
Because
know, but we are going to be the change that we want to see. So we are 15 minutes away from, we're 15 minutes away from the top of the hour, from 10 o'clock. We really have, just enjoyed the conversation with you so much, albeit late. We'd now like to bring on Nana. And so I want to thank you so much, Elder Akyaaba. I mean, wow. I will certainly be in touch with you to get another date to invite you back again. And in the meantime, be having some conversations about how we can work with you, my elder, because there is a work to be done. And we need some of your experience in the house. Thank you. Thank you so much, my elder. Enough love. We celebrate you. We appreciate you for your works and your commitment to our people. Thank you so much. Wow. Family, give our elder a round of applause. Thank you. Bye for now. Wow, what a wonderful conversation that has been with our elder. We have more pictures to actually bring you and to show you, but we're going to have to do that another time because as you can see, we have our chief in the house. Let me bring up for you my notes. So we have Nana Kweku Ijiri Jepi III, a man with a vision for a better Africa, a chief with a vision for Africa in the 21st century. Let me hear from you and test the mic. Greetings, Nana.
Greetings, Sister Shanice, you and all your listeners up in the African diaspora. It's great to be with you today.
It's great to have you join us. Thank you so much, Nana. And I think you were having some technical difficulties why you were unable to join us earlier.
Yeah.
But we're certainly delighted that you have managed to join us now. So
but can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are. Loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear. Okay, good. Wonderful.
So family, we have our next special guest for this part of the show, Nana Kweku Ijiri Jepi III, a campaigner, a combatant of Cape Coast. And he is a chief whose nobility, he says, is not for sale. He's on a mission to build bridges between our family on the continent and those of us in the diaspora, and wants to help promote Africa during the 21st century. And as you've been hearing, family, from the works and the words of our elder Akyaaba, there is a lot of works to be done. And the role of the chief, is critical in bringing about the changes that we want. And our chief is saying that he's tired of the abuse of Africans in the diaspora and wants to see a change in the position and the status of us as Africans around the world, and recognizes that he has and we have a job to do to bring about that change. So let's go over now to our brother Nene Kweku. And firstly, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the history, please, of the Fanti Nation.
My name is Nana Kweku Ejiri JP III. I am the Achampimihini Akukobatan of Ogwa, Cape Coast, Ghana, West Africa, on the Gulf of Guinea. The Fantis have been part of the Akan family, and we are on the coastal belt. As you can see, Cape Coast. Cape Coast was the first capital of the Gold Coast. You know, when the British was ruling us and colonizing us, Cape Coast was the capital. You know, and Cape Coast is right next to Elmina, where Don Diego de Azambuja arrived with the slave ship 1471. And since then, we have been Fantis, and we've been very respectful to ourselves till today. So the Achampimihini, which is my title, is Mighty Host of Cape Coast. Mm-hmm. And then Yakuko Batan, it means that the hen and the cheeks, the hen and the cheeks. So that's the title, the Mighty Host of Cape Coast. So I'm very happy to be here. We have a lot of work to do for RIA on the African continent and Africans elsewhere in the world. Our challenge is tremendous.
Mm. Yes, it is indeed. And Nana Kweku, we are, looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So I wonder if you can tell us a bit about your chieftaincy history.
My chieftaincy history, it's a female side, my mother's side. We choose the male that wants to become a chief on a throne from the female side instead of the male side. So my mother was a queen mother, and I was then in New York when I was called home to become a chief. And it has been since 1987 that I descended on the throne. So since 87, I have been a chief in the throne now for 35 years. So I'm celebrating my 35th anniversary right now as we speak, 35 years in chieftaincy.
We celebrate with you, Nana. We celebrate 35 years with you. Yes. And what would you say your most significant achievement has been in your 35 years on the throne? Oh, we've lost Nana. Hopefully he will be back with us very soon. These are the challenges that we have when we have guests from the continent. As you know, the internet signal is just so poor over there. So in the meantime, until our Nana comes back, let's go over to the chat. Brother Kwame Aboye, welcome. He's saying, Brother Kwame, how many of our Akan family members do you know? Okay, that's an interesting one. I see three. You're replying to someone else. So let's scroll up and see if we've got any questions to our guests or points for our guests until Nana returns. So Lion is saying, thank you all. That was a lesson in reality for me. Guidance family, Voodoo. It certainly was. Oh my days. What a lesson. Wow, what activism. was happening on the ground on Railton Road. I remember Railton Road from when I was young back in the day. I used to go down there partying as well. And to know that there was so much history and activism that was happening on Railton Road, man like CLR Jeans, man like, who was the other one again? Wow, and Kwame Nkrumah was down there, and Padmore, and wow. Absolutely phenomenal greats, those individuals. If you don't know who those individuals are, I suggest that you read their stories. Wow, they were the powerhouse in the diaspora, working hand in hand with our brothers and sisters on the continent, helping with the organizing, helping with the campaigning, helping to put pressure where pressure was needed in order to bring about the liberation of our people. We can do so much from here, family. We got Uganda in the house. Rise up, Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us. IC3 is saying hard work with no intelligence is a waste of energy. You're right. Of course, we need intelligence, and we've been talking about that as well. Let's scroll through. We'll bring back on our elder, Akyaaba, because I can see him in the studio there. And my elder, we've lost Nana. Hopefully he'll be able to join us again in a short while. When he does, I'll bring him to the forefront. But in the meantime, we'll come back to you. Sister Afrijamo said, Paul Boateng is now a lord. That's right. Okay. We know what side he is on then. Is it that when you become a lord, you're of no use anymore to our community? Well, just before our elder Akyaaba left us, he was saying that we can actually use the lords. We can actually petition them to raise issues in the House of Lords. And once it's raised in the House of Lords, they have to raise it in the House of Commons. Now, I think this is definitely a strategy that we need to be exercising. It's a route in. I think we need to be taking advantage of. What say you about that, Elder Akyaaba?
Yeah, it's very effective because at the Greater London Council, I used to draft such questions for Lord Avery, who was then the chairman of the Parliamentary Human Rights Group. I also worked with him as his research assistant. So I worked at the House of Lords for about 2 years as his research assistant. So I know how effective this is. And if you get questions raised on the floor, they enter into the Hansard, the government is supposed to respond. And they have to research. You see, so we organize, so this is effective, you should do it.
Hey, we need to be using this, we need to be using this channel. Yes, man.
We have to use the channels.
I want to ask a question about the deaths in police custody. I need answers about the deaths in police custody, and why, and it needs to be investigated. Why, this continues to happen without a proper investigation and due outcome. We've got the case at the moment of Chris Akyaaba, young man who was shot in the head in London. We need to put a stop to the excess use and abuse of powers that are seeing, our young people, being shot in their head and being taken into police stations and ending up dead. So I think this needs to be an issue that's raised on the floor in the House of Lords. Is this the sort of thing that we can raise, as well as obviously all of the 101 other matters that we are concerned about?
Yes, they can be raised. A lot of things can be raised. So far as you are able to find an MP, a member of parliament, a member of the House of Lords. So, and what you have to notice is that they live in your neighborhoods. So go to them, go to their homes. That's what I used to. That's how I got Black History Month. I managed to get the support because I found the key members of the committees, because I worked there and I had to make presentations and defend projects and other activities within the committees. So I got to know the powerful ones and influential ones. And they will find me at their doors at home. And I'll go there, sit down with them, talk with them and all that. So that human relationship, that's how I got the support, all party support, conservative or whatever. I didn't bother. I voted Labour. I'm a radical, but because of the cause that I was pursuing, I knew that it could not be successful unless it was an all-party support. And please don't forget the period that we were in, the period of Margaret Thatcher, that they were rolling everything and they were determined to destroy the London leadership under Ken Livingstone. And they eventually abolished the Greater London Council. And
it was too powerful. It was too powerful then, wasn't it? That's why they abolished it. And also, my elder, just to mention about the activism that was happening at a grassroots level as well, because in the 80s, the youth, the young people, you know, I was amongst those on the ground in Southwark and in Lambeth. You know, we were demanding equality. We were demanding change. We were campaigning. We were protesting outside the town hall with our banners and getting the newspapers to turn up and hear the issues that we were concerned about. We were putting pressure on the local councils, raising motions to get them tabled at committee meetings. We were, you know, it was part of almost a nationwide movement at that time, because in Liverpool, in St. Paul's, in Bristol, and you know, and London, and all the local authorities in London, where we were all demanding, all the young people at that time were politically active and putting pressure on the local councils. And what did they do to destroy that movement? They did a couple of things significantly. One, they divided the community. They divided us into males and females, and you know, so they had the women's groups, the disabilities groups, the LGBT groups, the this group, the that. So they divided the community to water down the activism, and they started dishing out grants as well. And then people started squabbling and fighting over the little bit of money, you know, and then the whole thing started dissipating. And all the gains that have been made in the 80s, by the year 2000, you know, basically they just started rolling back and taking back all that they were forced to give. But they were having to open up doors and give jobs and opportunities to our people. You know, our people were beginning to see people who looked like us in senior positions. But unfortunately, the ones that were getting the jobs, certainly in my area, weren't the political activists. They were, you know, the sort that were prepared to lick boots, lick rear end, and keep their head down, and even, you know, work against the interest of their own people. So that was another strategy that they used. So we really need to learn from the past. So we've got to work to do again to get that sort of momentum going. But we hear what you're saying, our elder. Good advice there about, you know, getting community activism happening at a grassroots level, lobbying and petitioning MPs and councillors, getting them to table motions about the issues of that are of concern to us, getting their support, getting matters raised and questions asked in the House of Lords as well. There's definitely a lot that we could be doing in those areas. And very, very importantly, to train up the young people, to get them involved in political activism as well, because it worked for us in the 80s. You know, we've got to be the force and be a force to be reckoned with. Otherwise, we will continue to be ignored and downtrodden. And we've heard from the history of CLR James and Padmore and Nkrumah how individuals can come together and be a force to be reckoned with. Oh, wow, wow, wow.
That is the challenge facing us now. The young ones, Africa has to be liberated.
Yes.
Now we need a territory to be liberated. So that is a challenge facing the younger generation. Now, they should not be happy with what is happening on the continent. I quite remember I was with President Sam Nujoma of Namibia. And I asked him a question. I said, how come you were so young? You and that time, the Speaker of the Parliament, the name will come back to me. They were quite young, about 18 and 19, and they started the resistance that young. And I asked him why. He said, we were tired of the humiliation that our parents were facing under apartheid. So that is why we started doing something, and we were angry. But now the younger generation, they are not angry because we provided everything for them, we spoiled them.
Spoiled them.
They are not angry.
Wow,
So,
wow.
but now we have to be angry now to bring about change. We have to be
Share.
angry, and we have to stir up the younger generation not to accept mediocrity and corruption and tribalism and sexism. We should not accept this. And then urge them on. So we have to pass on the baton of liberation and prepare them. We should never give up on our youth. If we give up on our youth, we are giving up on ourselves and our future. Please.
That's right. So family, if you're over 40, you know what job you've got to do. It's about preparing the youth so that they can, and so we can pass on the baton to them to continue the fight. Rise up, Elder Winters in the house. He says that it is the education that can ruin us unless we learn to love our people and love our history. Cades will take our minds away in favor of submitting to them. Cades, that's culturally, please remind us what Cades is. Culturally, I can't remember, but I think the D is deficient syndrome. Who can remind me what CADES is abbreviated for? We had our Nana back for a short while, and he's dropped out again. Once we get him back, we'll bring him on straight away so that, even if he's with us for a little while, we can hear a little bit from us. Mr. IC3 is using the term white supremacy. There is no such thing as white supremacy. There's white terrorism, white terrorists. They're not supreme. If you say they're supreme, you're saying that you're inferior. And that is a major mindset problem. As our Dr. Winters was saying, our people have been educated to see themselves as inferior and to see others as superior. That's also a major, major problem within our community that needs to be fixed. Kwame Ossi says, fix the country movement in Ghana is preparing the next generation to take power. Hey, glad to hear that.
Excellent.
My elder, back to you.
Excellent. I read a comment about Black History Month being a period that is now concerned with cooking, dancing, and this and that. I hear that a lot. But please, the month of October was specifically chosen as a month of reflection. It's a month, we have a whole calendar month to ourselves as African people to examine our lives, our relationship with one another, our relationship in our family, with our wife, with our husbands, with our children, with our cousins, nephews, with our community, with our borough, with our country, without Africa, and all that. So it's a period of self-examination. So we come to understand the state of Black Britain, the state of African Britain. And then we look at what has happened for the past year and reorganize ourselves to face the challenges of the coming year. So it's a time of examining our lives and planning. That is what Black History Month is for. So the content depends on you and me. If you write that, please, why is the content this, is that, then I'll ask you, what are you doing yourself?
Exactly.
What are you doing to enrich the content?
Yeah,
they are doing
every one
what
of us
they
has a
can
role
from
to
what
play.
they know. So the responsibility rests on you to do something. I remember one time Hugh Masekela was invited to the British Museum and he performed there on Black History Month. And then after the event, I asked him who invited him. He mentioned to me, and I went down to the basement and met a curator, a white man. And he did put that wonderful show. Then he went through to me, said the difficulties that he faced to put on that show, to invite. He said it was tough, resistance, but he held his ground and did that. So the responsibility of content rests with us, with you and me. So if something is not well, what are you doing in your neighborhood for Black History Month? Can you even call the children around and read some stories to them? Storytelling. What are you doing? Can
I
you
agree
go
with
to
you,
your
my
embassy?
elder. We
Can
all
you
have
go
a
to your
role to
embassy?
play.
Go to your embassy and say, please, we have these schools in our neighborhoods. Come and tell them about Ghana. Come and tell them about Nigeria. Come and tell them about Zimbabwe. Come and tell them about Seychelles,
I
whatever.
agree. You know, we've got this month, thanks to you, to those who have just joined, you know, Elder Akyaaba Addai-Sebo was instrumental 30 plus years ago. I think 38 years ago, was it, my elder? For 35 years ago, for bringing Black History Month to the UK. And he is telling us that we have to use this month. You know, this month opens the doors to supermarkets, schools, colleges, universities, hospitals, all the institutions and organizations in this country. The doors will open during African History Month or Black History Month for us to go in there, to share our stories, to reach our children and our young people. And if we don't like the programs that are being organized, then we need to be in there offering programs, organizing programs for this month. And it's an opportunity, as our elder was saying, to gather your children, your grandchildren, the nephews, the nieces, the grandnephews and nieces, and to be having the discussions with them about our history and to enrich their knowledge about our history. Because if we don't do that and we do leave it up to the schools who are reluctantly, you know, participating in this program, all they're going to be talking about is probably the period of our enslavement and ignoring the wonderful thousands of years of rich history that we have and that we had pre-enslavement. So we've got to make, you know, the changes that we want to see and stop relying on others to do for us. Kate, I was asking if I could be reminded. Thank you so much in the chat for reminding me. Donnell's reminded me. CAIDS is abbreviated for Culturally Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. And that's what the Caucasians suffer from, culturally acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And if we're allowing a group of people who have a culturally acquired immune deficiency syndrome to educate us and to educate our children, it's, you know, it goes without even thinking about it why we're in the mess that we're in. So we've got to take control and responsibility for our education. And I know Nana from the Cape Coast wanted to talk about that as well, because he's got some projects. He's working on some initiatives in the Gold Coast region, and he wants to open the door for us. But we're going to have to invite him on, I think, on a different show. So apologies again for the difficulties and the technical challenges that not only Nana has been having, but, you know, I couldn't even log on via Zoom. I've had to come on via StreamYard. They locked me out of Zoom again. I think it was Umar Johnson's show that did it. But it's all good. It's all good. This is what they do, you know, they just mess about with your channel. They've been messing with my channel for the last 2 years, but, you know, I'm pushing on regardless. I'm not watching nothing, you know. I'll look back behind and it'll show me that I've had 30,000 views within a month, but that's not reflected on my video counts. It's not reflected on my live. So I'm like, where are these 30,000+ views that I'm getting each month? Why is that not being shown? And I'm not the only one that's having that kind of challenge on YouTube. I probably need to start a different channel, and maybe I will do. But, you know, as long as people are getting these messages and it's all being shared, you know, don't watch the figures, don't watch the numbers. It's all being suppressed and oppressed, as they do, you know, when they don't like our messages. If I was here shaking my butt to the camera, they would be putting it out there in the millions. But that's not what we're about here. So rise up, Lionx, you know, loving your contributions in the chat as well. Okay, Nana's trying to join us backstage. His video has not come through as yet, but as soon as he does, I will be putting him on. Let's go back over in the meantime to our esteemed elder, Akyaaba Addai-Sebo.
Thank you, my sister. Yes. Now the challenge facing us is the challenge of neocolonialism, the vice and stranglehold of neocolonialism. Nkrumah saw what was happening. That was why he wrote the book, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism. President Johnson told him not to get the book published. Prime Minister Harold Wilson also tried to intervene not to get the book published. During that period in 1965, Nkrumah was organizing going to host the Organization of African Unity, and both the US and Britain organized to get the summit boycotted in Accra.
They were trying to out the fire and the light. We're going to come back to you, Elder Akyaaba. We've got Nana back in the house. Just to quickly respond to comments in the chat as well. Of course, we celebrate our history 365 days in a year, but during that month, it's an opportunity for us to go into the institutions, organizations, schools, and other institutions that we wouldn't otherwise have access to in order to bring our interpretation of our history to our family. Okay, so let's use that opportunity. Nana, you're back with us. You've been having some challenges with your internet, but while you're here, let's quickly move on.
Yes, so, what I'm going to say is that celebrating the Black History Month, the African History Month, is very, very important. This will let our new generation coming up to know our history. Without the celebration, we will not know. This new generation coming up will not know what
Nana, you've frozen.
The struggle have been with, you know, So therefore, celebration is good. Now, since the internet access is so badly, I want everybody to know that getting my book, the book, the 21st Century African Chief book from Amazon will let you know where we are and where we are going in the 21st century with African government. Okay, so this is what I have, you know, and that we must read the message, and we must stick with the message, because many of the Pan-African brothers and sisters are not doing what Pan-African really stands for. We're not doing it. Okay, so therefore we must do it like Omar is doing, building schools, building Pan-African schools, schools that will open the eyes of the new generation, because many of us are still having mental problems and mental challenges. You understand? So we must come together. It is very important. A lot of the Ghanaians, a lot of the Africans living in Europe, a lot of the Africans living in Europe have forgotten, when they got to Europe, they forgot about Africa. They do not longer think about Africa when they get to Europe.
That's so true. Back. Absolutely. Never forget home. You see, and never stop building your home. So true.
When you can be in Europe for another 100 years, you are still not a European, you are an African.
That's right. That's right.
So therefore, Africa's development is in the hands of Africans in Europe, Africans in America, Africans all over the world.
We've got a job to do.
Africans in Europe, yes, Africans in Europe combined, every African combined together, we could all go.
Oh dear. Our Nana has frozen again, but he's telling us that his vision is in a book called 21st Century African Chief, and we can get that via Amazon. So, you know, for us to find out what it is that Nana wants to accomplish.
In Ghana.
Unfortunately, Nana's having difficulty with his line. I know there's storms happening in Ghana right now, and it's affecting the phone lines.
Gold mining in Congo, gold mining in South Africa, all.
Yeah. Nana, the line is really bad, and unfortunately, we're not hearing you. You're cutting in and out, and you're more out than you are in. I think we're going to have to invite Brother Nana, our Chief Nana, back to address us again on another show, because, you know, he was telling me that he's got access to land. Land isn't a problem. If we want to come and build a school out there, if we want to work in partnership, you know, he had so much that he wanted to talk to us, you know, about and to share with us. But unfortunately, you know, it's just not letting us. But if I can just quickly go back to Black History Month, because it's our responsibility to be taking Black History Month to the schools, colleges, universities, hospitals, all the institutions that are opening the doors right now. It's our responsibility to get in there and with our programs, because if we're not in there with our programs, they're going to be going in there with their wishy-washy programs. You know, someone was saying in the chat that the local authority has hijacked African History Month. That's because we allowed it to happen. You know, they've expanded it to include gypsies, Vietnamese, etc., etc. That doesn't mean that we can't put on our own Black History Month event. So this show today, you know, is a pre-Black stroke African History Month show that is to call on you, the African family, to put together your programs and to take those programs into the schools where your children are or where your grandchildren are. for you to take a program into your local hospitals. You know, there's an issue in the local hospitals. Black women are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than their white counterpart. Why is this happening? Take that as a Black History Month issue into the local hospitals and have that conversation, you know, as an issue from a race perspective. Doctor, we've got Chief back, our brother. Let's quickly bring him back. We'll continue maybe for about 10, 15 minutes more. I know it's late, so thank you everybody for staying with us. Nana, you're back. Ooh, but the line isn't any better.
We will need to. Yeah.
Wow. Nana, unfortunately, your line is.
Schedule this.
Yes.
We need to reschedule this program.
We will do. We will do. Absolutely. Because I want our people to hear your message, because it's a message that can change.
I believe that we need to reschedule.
Yeah, we will reschedule, Nana. But I thank you so much for trying to make this work. And thank you for introducing yourself to our audience. We did get past the initial introduction, but we will invite you back. Nana, Elder Akyaaba, I love saying your Akyaaba, Addai-Sebo, Akyaaba. Have I got it, pronounced it right?
Akyaaba Addai-Sebo, correct.
Akyaaba.
You're doing well.
I love saying your name. I want to thank you so much as well for being a guest on the Sister Shanice show today. It's been an absolute honor and privilege, you know, being in the company of a man such as yourself, and hearing the stories, you know, involving so many greats, yourself included, you know, about their activism, the works that they were doing whilst they were young people, how they supported Kwame Nkrumah and fueled and fired him up to go and be the great one that he was. But you know what? His fire still burns. The fire of Kwame Nkrumah still burns. The desire and the vision that he has for Africa hasn't died and won't die. And we will continue to carry the flame and the torch for Kwame Nkrumah every day of our lives and pass it on to the next generation as well. So family, if you're wondering what stories to tell your children this Black History Month, you know, how about telling them the story about how Black History Month was started? Who started Black History Month? The story of Kwame Nkrumah while he was here in the UK, the characters that he met, you know, do a little bit of research about CLR James and Padmore, you know, and, you know, tell them those stories. They're the stories that is relevant to us here in the Baratanak, in Britain, you know. Let's start talking more about those stories. I'm doing some research at the moment as a student of Dr. Clyde Winters, and I'm researching our history in Ireland. And family, our history in Ireland goes back 44,000 years. We were the original people of Ireland. They've been hiding it from us. We were the original people of Scotland. They've been hiding it from us. We're the original people of Britain, the Baratanaks. They've been hiding it from us. But the information's out there once you start doing the research and you know where to look. And the good news is that we have Dr. Clyde Winters rejoining us next Wednesday for another very insightful journey into our history. So keep it locked to the Sister Shanice show. Please do share. Our Elder Akyaaba, thank you so much. And I hope that you will come back and rejoin us on this platform again at some point in the future. It's been an honor. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, sister. But please, before I leave and you leave the show, please, is there any period in the daily lives of people of Britain where you have a whole month set aside for you. It's your month.
It's our month.
And you own it.
Take it. Own it.
It's your
Control it.
that
Run
we
with
have
it. Don't
achieved.
sit back and complain about what
One
others are
whole
doing.
month. One whole
Hey,
calendar month.
yeah. Talk about what
You
we want
have
to
one
talk
whole
about.
calendar month. It
Yeah.
is you have to fill it with rich content.
Yeah.
Own it.
Own it.
It's yours.
It's ours.
Please.
Thanks to you. Thank you so, so much. To everyone in the audience, thank you so, so much for joining us and for keeping it locked. Apologies again for the late start due to the technicals, but, you know, we will be making up for it. Our elder has more pictures in a presentation to show you. So we will be coming back, all being well, and we'll be inviting Nana back as well. So we'll see you next Wednesday, family. Thanks again, our esteemed elder. More love, more strength, more voodoo power to you and everybody in our audience, and to everybody that's watching. Please share the video, like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you so much. Sister Shanice, out of here for now. One love.